if you, as you grow up, and maybe this helps a lot of people watching, is expectations. We have expectations. We have also fear of expectations. And so I've always feared that the people who support me are supporting me, monetarily wise, donations, friendships, subs, and I would disappoint them, and that's that they expect something from me. But there comes a point where I just simply couldn't. And good friends, people who really support you and care about you, will understand. And that's the hard part. When do you take some time off? When you don't enjoy something, don't continue it. Come back when you're ready.
Eric, can we maybe just jump in there in how everything started for you? Like, how did you get into gaming and streaming? And maybe give us a little bit of time frame when everything happened.
Sure. I mean, first of all, I want to say thanks for having me on this show. I really like what you're doing, the idea behind the show and everything else that's in there. There's just quite a lot in the gaming industry that's just not being talked about, or even, in pop culture, like mental health is super important.
Yes.
Even when I was a teacher, I saw the importance, like, there is in childhood development, even within the game industry, man. You watch communities, you watch people, and when you've seen as much as I've seen, or possibly as you also start to see where the dark parts are. And for someone to be shining light, it's really an important thing. What you're doing is really, really cool. That's why I wanted to come on and support, and maybe lend like some cool info for people who watch, who either are struggling or are trying to be more in the video game industry as a whole, or even trying to create content. So I've done now quite a few of those things, and everyone has their own share of good times and bad times. So it's always important. What you're doing is really cool. I want to just kind of get out there and say it before we dive into just, I guess, some questions about like what I've done, and just in general what we share at the same time. I mean, my background here is Battlefield, right? Because that's kind of how we got to know each other. But it's the video game industry, right? So for those of you guys who don't know me, my name is Eric. I started streaming when PlayStation 4 came out. And that was, if I'm not mistaken, it happened November 2013. Holy smokes. It's pretty crazy to look at that and say that it's been a while. It's been a while. But I mean, the first year when the PS4 was out, I wasn't like full-time streaming. I wasn't like, pursuing this as a thing. It was more just like, I just gamed a lot. I went through college connecting with my best friends by gaming, because everybody kind of separated out. We all went our separate places into different colleges. And eventually it was just like Battlefield was the one thing that kept us together, and even when my friends didn't play, I played
But you
Battlefield.
started like six months after, right? You started pretty quickly. But first,
Yes.
more like what made you start streaming though? Well, what was the reason for you?
I recall this moment, right? Like PlayStation had this live from PlayStation feature, and I didn't even know what Twitch was at that time, or cared about like YouTubers and whatnot. I was just out doing my own stuff, and then at the end, I looked at this live from PlayStation, and chance will have it that the person I clicked, I looked for, hey, what did I want to watch? I'm a Battlefield guy. I wanted to watch some Battlefield. And somebody was playing the campaign. So I clicked on him and I started watching. And this person ended up being Slovak. And he was speaking in Slovak. And to me, it was just like, holy smokes, man, cool, bro. I'm from Slovakia too. Where are you? And he was in Germany, believe it or not. Yeah. And instantly I was like, man, this is powerful. Because like, it brought me someone, it connected me to someone who has a connection to me, just the mind craziness of all that. So instantly I was like, this is cool. And so I started playing. I would turn it on sometimes. And the general idea was, hey, let me find some people to play games with, because I got a PlayStation. I only had my two best friends on it, and my friends list was empty. I remember the first years of streaming, I was just adding everybody from the stream, adding. And then eventually I always had people to jam with and game, and it was nice, to the point where literally my friends list was full, I wouldn't even be able to add
It's
more
funny,
people.
you probably you didn't know, but you probably did the first best thing is connecting with your audience and building up your audience by playing with them and connecting with them, right? I'm just
Yeah.
thinking about like how did you get there? Did you didn't have the vision when you started out that you would get eventually to this point where you ended streaming, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think most people don't start streams with the vision of like, hey, I want to be a content creator. I want to have a channel of X amount of people or subs or full time. Like most people don't do that. I think nowadays, because back then, you had some YouTubers who were professional, but nowadays you have people who are front and center, like actors, right? Like you see successful actors, you at a maybe young age want to be like, hey, I'm gonna be a successful actor because I see, and so we're first time approaching this space where you see successful streamers and people are coming out of high school or in high school and they're like, I'm gonna be that next successful streamer. I don't know. At that time, there just wasn't a lot of information out, so most people did not, pursue it that way.
But did you eventually make the decision, like the conscious decision to, um,
Yes,
make it
I,
successful? And
I think I
what
think
happened there in your mind, basically?
the
What
first
was your
part is
plan?
is like you start to see people support you and you're just like, okay, cool, right? That's why you get a better microphone, that's why you get better headsets, because people are like, oh man, did you check this out? Hey man, I'll support you, and get this microphone, everyone's using this technology, and you kind of just get better and better with the equipment that you have. And at the same time, I think like everybody who sets a schedule is looking for that level of success. You know what I mean? Sorry about that. Basically, that's when you become more serious about content creation, with the actual setting up a schedule.
Okay. Um, I'm not sure, like how far, how much, because we don't have so much time, and I think I can't go too much into your world today as a streamer. Um, but do you think like EKOLIMITES from the startup, was it like a persona you were building up, or like how is EKOLIMITES like different from Eric? When did you start to think about like as a brand maybe or something when you were
Um,
thinking about it?
I don't think I ever thought of myself as a brand. And if you would go in and talk about like good moves and bad moves, that's a bad move. Like I never pursued EKOLIMITES as a brand. Never really had like merch or things like that. It was never my like thought out plan, to sit there and be like, oh, I'm gonna brand myself. Um, and I see people successful who do that, and that is the only way you can become successful as a content creator. So um, maybe like learning opportunities to all those people who want to be content creators and want to do it full time and are very passionate about it. You must think of yourself as a brand. You must build that up. But it's a fine line. What is authentic and what is just conjured up.
What's your name,
But
new
conjured
hero?
up works. Like you look at someone as successful as Dr. Disrespect. He just came out swinging as a brand, and it just works. No one questions authenticity. You know what I mean? Everyone knows that he is basically playing a show, but people eat it up. People enjoy it. No one's there for the authenticity of, Guy. That's his name, right? Like,
Yeah. That is his name. By the way, chat here, guys, if you have any questions to EKOLIMITES himself, just put them in the chat, of course. We will pick them up, whenever we can. Um, what do you say, Thoughtus? I always thought EKOLIMITES related to something about ecology.
no, no. The origin of the name is funny because I was like maybe 14 or something. And I was in Europe and I was watching MTV in German. and there was a
Big
rapper
thing.
called Echo Fresh.
Oh yeah, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
And he was like EKO, you know, Echo. And I was like, cool. So I went back and I was like, this the funny part is yeah, this is true. And I
Sorry.
went back and I was like a sophomore in high school. And this girl was like, hey, you know, I want to message you on AOL. I'm like, holy smokes, I need to make an AOL account, right? And then I was sitting there like, what would I be? Well, I mean, I
It's
thought
so
that was
funny. I
cool.
met him, man. I met him.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Look, this world is connected. You know, it's just impossible. Like I was sitting today talking to a friend of mine at a
Oh,
park,
years ago, man.
and we discussed like how world is destiny. And look, it's a connection. Like the fact I'm doing a podcast, it's hilarious that you met this person who inspired my name. Yeah, Echo Fresh, and I just kind of threw limits on it, and it just worked out because you know Eric Kovac, EKO, maybe. And I ended up being a math teacher. Limits, you know.
Oh man,
Funny.
that's so funny. That's really funny that we are sitting here and talking about that right now. It's hilarious. I love it. But you're right, everything is connected, and I truly believe in that, to be honest. Well, I think we got this. Why? Okay, let's go to the part you stopped streaming eventually.
Yep.
What made you think? I mean, it's a process. It's not like you probably decided from one day to the other, like, now, you know, fuck this, I stop streaming now. So,
It is a grueling process.
so
You
let's,
know,
yeah, tell me about this. Like, what made you thinking about taking a break, and why?
there were a lot of things. You know, life changes. Myself, Battlefield was one of the biggest games I've motivated me to create a channel, motivated me to continue streaming. And once we all know the story with Battlefield 5, man, there was just accumulation of a lot of bad things, you know, that ended up with me not enjoying Battlefield 5. I jumped into other games and, you know, I just didn't enjoy them, you know, like some games I would like to play off stream. But ultimately, I just fell out of love with the games that were available, right? And I think it's not so much that the games were bad, you know, like Call of Duty obviously has done wonders for a lot of people's channels that were EA game changers and Battlefield people. You know, like for instance, Westy and those people. They did really good content, and everyone kind of understood that, hey, you switched away from Battlefield 5 because Battlefield 5 was just at a state where it was
Well, there
clear
was
that it
no
was
new
never.
content. I mean, if you're a content creator, how can you make content about a game which doesn't bring new content, right?
But you see, this is not the problem.
Okay,
I
what is the
played
problem?
Battlefield 4. I played Battlefield 4 where there was absolutely no content.
Oh, wait.
You know, it was the game is good. I can care less about content if the core game is good. When a core game sucks, there's nothing you can slap on it. If you have a crappy car, I don't care what the paint job is or the spoiler is or the lights, you know, your
Okay,
engine
I see
sucks.
that.
You're not going anywhere. And this was the biggest problem with that I had. And I will say that what motivated me to stop is just this slow trickle of being alive and just not enjoying it. And it's a hard thing to go through. And I know you guys talk about like mental awareness and all this stuff. When you put yourself in a position of like entertaining people, but you're not entertained, how is that even possible?
Yeah, I was about
You-
to ask, like, did Battlefield 5 in the end affect your mental health
I mean,
in a way?
it's like a disappointment. You know what I mean? It's a disappointment in the fact that it's something you love and it's not good. So then you realize, like, do you complain about it? Do you fight to change it? Do you try to help it? You know, I'm not the type of person to waste time doing useless things that are not going to impact something. You know, like my biggest motivation, even in what I do now in industry wise, is to make real change happen. Do something that's going to help someone, indie devs, inspire streamers, or whatever else. I work with content creators all the time. Um, Move things forward. And so at that time, Battlefield was just stagnating. It was not going to go anywhere. The writing was on the wall. So that coupled with, you know, life changes, real life changes, you know, turning older, you know, that's kind of what happens to us all. And a big life change for me was losing my dad. You know, that's not an easy thing for most people who've been through losing a parent. And, you know, I had to take some time off
Of
because you
course.
think about entertainment, you know, and that's what streaming is. I'm here to make people happy. Um, Shoot some breeze with someone, play some games, you know, like when you have a free time. And that's when content creation is good. When content creation isn't good is when you're just deeply hurt by something. You know, you could be deeply hurt by a family member passing away, and you just have like not enough time to deal with it. And so it's first of all, it started with the decline of Battlefield, went into my family life, and then it was just the perfect time of like, hey, let me take a month off. My dad died. And then month turned into 2, 3, 4, 5. And then eventually it was like the want to stream again. I streamed once or twice when it was like a game to actually play. But there was just a lot of stuff there that even when I came back, there wasn't a game that I can sink into and truly enjoy making content. So the decision to stop was really, really hard. But what was harder is the decision as to what to do next. You know what I mean? Um,
Before we go there, what were you most afraid of when you stopped streaming? Like the process, like what was going on in your mind? I bet like the pressure you had. I think Blue Microphones as a sponsor at that time, right?
yeah.
I mean, properly, I don't know how many subs you had and stuff like that. I mean, was that like a lot of pressure?
Inevitably, everything kind of goes down, right? Subs, and you know, the biggest thing that you fear as a content creator is disappointing the people who support you, because these people support you. And if you, as you grow up, and maybe this helps a lot of people watching, is expectations. You know, we have expectations, we have also fear of expectations. And so I've always feared that the people who support me are supporting me, you know, monetarily wise, donations, friendships, subs, and I would disappoint them, you know, and that's that they expect something from me. But there comes a point where I just simply couldn't. And good friends, people who really support you and care about you, will understand. And that's the hard part. You know, when do you take some time off? Um, when you don't enjoy something, don't continue it. Um, Come back when you're ready. And many streamers have done it. I mean, Summit, I remember Summit 1G, he punched his monitor. Um, yeah, I mean, that was a big thing. And he just kind of went offline for a while because he just hated H1Z1 at that point. And he was in a similar position where it's like Battlefield 5, man. I mean, like, I think is that Broken Machine in the chat
Yeah.
too? Yeah, I saw a comment on tweet. What's up? I miss you guys. You know, I missed that about the EA Game Changers, getting to see everybody. But I saw a comment from you, and you're venting your frustration with Battlefield 5, and I think I commented. I'm like, man, I don't understand how people still create content for that game, right? I mean, it was just really, really bad. I mean, it's okay for a half an hour, but when you're dealing content, you know, specifically streamers, you need to have content for 4 hours at least, right? Like that's the Goldilocks zone, maybe 3, 4 hours.
I think the biggest deal is really what you said before. Like, if you're frustrated with the game, and I mean, in the end, you're streaming, that means you have a camera in front of you and you want to be happy. And if it doesn't come from a happy place, and then you have people also in the chat who are frustrated because of that game, and they leave that frustration to you. How can you come from a happy place and react to these people, react to your stream? Because you feel it maybe even the same way sometimes, the frustration, right? So I guess it was a decision also for your inner happiness,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Well,
it was huge. It was hard to say. I probably disappointed people. I know there's some people who are understanding of why I made what choices I made, and there are people who stayed in touch with me completely through email, through Discord, through Twitter, and that was like, wow, that's cool. Hey, man, I haven't streamed like with a schedule for almost 2 years now, and some people still chat with me. and say, you know, like, hey, I missed this stream, or this is cool, or general, like not even streaming stuff, more like, how are you as a person? Like, what are you doing? Oh man, you saw a picture, you went hiking somewhere. What did that look like? And I'm like, yeah, I did. All right. And this is the cool stuff, because uh, everyone has their own life, you know, and that realization is real. Like, we have objectives, you know, we have jobs and things, and even the people who watch you sometimes, you know, they get busy. Like best mods, subs, and friends who used to watch, then stopped for some reason. Maybe they got a family, maybe they got a new job that's really, really taxing, and then they come back. And that's the cool part. I love seeing people back after like a long time, and just seeing like, hey, how's life? How are you? You know, and they just connect with you like a best friend would. So decision was hard to stop streaming, but as I said, the next decision was even harder, as to do what to do next for me.
And we will get to that. To finish this part of your life, is there anything you think like, or what's something people seem to misunderstand about you as EKOLIMITES? Is there anything you like to say in retrospective? People you wish people would have seen about you as a person?
I think this goes for almost every content creator. I think people have a perception that just because you create content, just because you have X amount of viewers or followers or something, there's just success. You know, all of a sudden, where's my Bugatti? You know, like, I'm sorry, I don't have it parked outside because I do not own one. You know, people have an idea entrenched in their minds that as soon as you have some sort of viewership, some sort of following, you must be rolling in it. And
But could you live from it that
at the
time?
time when I created content, barely, but I did. You know, and this is a 2-point front. You know, you really have to be good at the business of video games, and I've always understood that I wasn't good at this part. You
Yeah,
know, as
what
a
would you have
content creator.
changed? Well, that's a good point. What would, if you look back now, is there anything you would have changed?
Oh, I mean, there's plenty I would have changed, right?
Give me a
The
few
level of
examples.
professionalism in my streams, I
Okay.
would have changed. Level of professionalism in my business, I would have changed. And most of the time, this either equates to you being a better manager of yourself and your own self-worth and what you have to offer, or actually even having a manager. You know what I mean? And these are the points that aren't easy,
Outsourcing?
because I
Outsourcing?
mean,
Like, I mean,
outsourcing, it's not so much. I mean, like, a lot of people have agents. Like, I speak to agents daily, like, you know, where I work with indie games and try to market them. And that's something that is very helpful to content creators who don't want to do this part. Like, I never had the inner love for the grind in this aspect. I just loved turning the stream on and connecting with people. That does not equate to a Bugatti. You know.
yeah,
um
there's a lot more to it, definitely.
and so if I had to give some insight to, like, people who want to know me more, you know, I would say curb your level of success. You know, I'm just a guy who lives in an apartment, who has a job, and who lives life simply like everyone else, you know. And I think some streamers, some YouTubers have crazy success and they like to show it off and all this stuff. But from what I've met, 99% of creators are normal people making normal livings, or have other jobs, you know, that support their dream of just full-time content creation. There's just a huge disconnect.
Yeah.
Yep. Broken said it very well here. The reality of most creators is so different from what is shown online. Yep. And the thing that gets me, and Mizu, we talked about this, the biggest things that impact mental health of people is that we have social media, and social media is a trap. The trap of social media is that you look at everyone else's, they're having a great time and I'm not. You know, wow, this guy has a private jet. Wow, this guy's gold chain is like thick as heck. You know, I mean, oh wow, he's got 1 million subs, like
Also, like this thing, like, what do you show from yourself? How much do you show from yourself? How do you want people to see you? And I mean, we're all dealing with that, I guess. You don't want to show everyone, everything.
mm,
But in the end, this is also something I think which can affect your mental health, because if you don't feel yourself and you try to be somebody else, then you disconnect from your inner self, right?
right.
So I think to find a balance there is very difficult for people, for everyone, probably.
And I think the other point to that argument is what I would like people to know about EKOLIMITES versus not is that at the same time, when you turn on a camera and or someone's watching, you're aware, so like the persona of top 5 in USA is a very funny thing, right? Because top 5 of what? I mean, it was a great joke, but at the same time, like there used to be a leaderboard for Battlefield 4, and I don't know where I was on some score. Like I played the game longer than most people, so there you go,
Yeah.
and it just seemed to anger people in many ways, and like that's not the intention. The intention is just it's a click grabber, but people I think hone in on certain things, and I think that if you slow down and say, I'm not gonna let small things anger me, I'm gonna understand why they are there, and therefore like a clickbaity title shouldn't get you so mad. Like I remember the time when YouTubers were making clickbaity titles on their videos, and they still are very clickable, But I remember times where people were just like up in arms against these people, like, wow, clickbait, I vote down the video, whatever. Like, don't watch it, don't interact. I mean, a sign of maturity is if you see someone doing something really, really dumb, move on, right? And that's one of those things where I feel like the misconception about EKOLIMITES is, number one, just because you have 100,000 followers on Twitch does not equal to a paycheck of $1 million every single day. And the number two is understand that there's a certain level of showmanship. You put out, I am who I am, and EKOLIMITES is an extension of that, but at the same time, it's also more entertaining.
Damn, I had 3 questions when you were talking, and all are gone
Sorry.
right now. No,
I know we have a question.
it was so great what you said, and my mind was just popping from one side to the other. Like, but I think we will just pick it up on the way. Like expectations is definitely a big thing you picked up in the front, and I don't know if you saw this tweet I retweeted today. I saw this Reddit post from I hope I pronounce him right, Ben Walkie. This
Okay, I know he's the
producer,
community manager, right?
EA producer from Star Wars Battlefront. He
Yes.
was. So and he posted a really interesting article. I really recommend every one of you to read it. If you didn't see it, just check on my Twitter profile. I posted it there, and I think it was directly what you said: expectations. And people have expectations for everything these days, and they feel what is the right word? Obliged? No, everyone thinks they can have an opinion on everything. Like I feel everyone thinks today. They know how to do marketing. They know how to do game development, And in the end, we are not working there. We don't know how everything works together and comes together.
Here's the thing. If I had to chime in on this, is we're living in an incredible time where the amount of educated people is more than it's ever been on this earth. People are very negative about the times and X, Y, and Z, but education has come such a long way from what it used to be. Education used to be for the rich. We educate even the poor. I was a teacher in an inner city, educating kids who were working to keep the lights on from their mom. And this kid was brilliant. He would still come after school and help other kids. I ended up giving him my DS because I just felt so bad. You know, what could I do? But at the end of the day, it's this piece that's an interesting pivot for me, is that with so many educated people, we have so many opinions. What separates these people from educated and active, I would say, is not a lot of people execute. This is the portion. We have a lot of opinions. We have a lot of things to say. Great debates on Reddit, you know, like mind chess on Reddit. Like people who will mind freak you like by their logics, and you're just like, yeah, you got me good. But here's the deal. What did you do with that brain of yours? How are you making this world a better place? How did you help Battlefield if this is the game that you love to complain about and you have mind chess about? Like, oh, you know, the game should have respawn timer set to 20 seconds. And then there's like a whole Reddit field about like, oh, this is the reason why. I'm like, great. Now what?
I just feel if you think you're intelligent enough to have an opinion on something and you take ownership for that, you should take ownership also for being wrong. And that's the thing. Nobody takes that. Everyone can bark out and say and complain about something. But when it turns out you're wrong, nobody's speaking up anymore.
Yeah, but here's the thing, right? Like,
It's like,
how are you wrong? I mean, are we ever wrong?
no.
Everyone-
Okay. Then it is more about we have to form a way to have a discussion in a way where we still talk with respect to each other. Look, I
Here's
know.
the biggest
Okay,
problem I
it's
found
okay.
when
Please.
I spoke to really, really high level players for Battlefield that were very good on PlayStation, you know, or Xbox or PC, is many of them thought that their opinion matters more.
Because they are good
And
players.
yes, and I hate to tell it, but no. And the players who pick up the game first time ever are not wrong when they say, man, I played Battlefield and there are too many tanks. And then a Battlefield veteran will come in and say, you're stupid. You go back to Call of Duty. You don't even know that tanks are in the games. And in World War II, there were these kind of tanks. And this is what they did, right? Like, you're not wrong. The other person's also not wrong. The point is to get input from more, and you can start to generalize what could be good for games. I think the problem
that.
is EA. This is the downfall of Battlefield 5. This was the dark ages of
Yes.
Battlefield.
Let's jump into that.
Was EA wanted to satisfy everyone. They listened to everybody. They said the same mentality, and they said no one's really wrong, but we're gonna put them all into one place, and that's wrong. You know, you have a huge game with millions of players worldwide. All you need to do is segment this section and offer each piece to each of those people. You know, when you try to please everyone, you please no one. You know, that's the idea. And they tried to please everyone with Battlefield 5, ended up pleasing no one. And it was one of those like games that you look at, like with my game developer hat, I look at it and I see there's just too many people with too many ideas, and everybody's just kind of like half-assing it, you know?
It felt like with Battlefield 5, it felt like the developers were not working in the end together on a same goal. It felt like
No.
everyone was working on something, but there was
Yes.
no red line, which was going to a good direction in the end. When you
I mean, they're great developers. Everyone over there is
Yes,
talented, and
absolutely.
they do their best, you know? It's just such a massive game means everyone has to come together. A lot of time has to be given to it, a lot of effort. I just think the decision making, you know, you biggest thing is scope creep. That's the like a ugly child of game development, indie or AAA, doesn't matter. You can scope creep crazy things, and for those people who don't know what that is, it's just basically
yes, please
you,
explain. I was like, what is that?
you know, for those of you guys, like this is something that I've learned now being in closer to development of games, is we all have great ideas. And this is, again, my point was that you have great ideas, implementation is key. You know, not a lot of us actually act out on these ideas. You know, I have $1 million idea and I'm gonna make socks that shine. Cool, man, but you haven't done them. You know, like, you haven't done them, no one's gonna done them, and there's no socks that shine. I don't know, but this is the point, is even in video games, it's like you have a game like Battlefield and you have millions of ideas and a lot of people involved, and they all want to make the game better or like what they think. And the point there is that when you have so many people involved, you just have a lot of people to say no. And so even it looked like in Battlefield 5, like a lot of ideas got developed and not to completion because someone said, oh no, don't do that. And there's just too many people, not enough like cohesion, like, you know, centered. So scope creep is just about this, implementing ideas. And eventually, like, if you had to implement every good idea you heard on the internet to make the best game ever heard of, right? Like if you had done like 100,000 polls and you get all those answers, you're going to be making that game for the next 30 years. Just look at Star Citizen, right? How long is that game going to be in development, and will it ever be done? I don't think so.
I was thinking what you said. I mean, the other thing is if you have an AAA game and anyone has an idea to implement something, it's not like you just click on it and implement it. You have legal, you have UI design, you have so many different parts of teams working on one idea. Let's, for example, the game thrower on Battlefield 1. The flamethrower. What did I say? The game thrower?
Yeah, flamethrower.
The flamethrower. So I'm just saying, if you want to implement a new idea normally in this kind of a game, it's not like we just, you know, go for it. Normally, there are a couple of different teams working on that idea, and it's from the story, from the narrative side to actually to the implementation, and it takes a lot. But I think for this Battlefield 5, do you remember as an EA game changer when you all have seen? Have you all seen the presentation together? How was it? I mean, I don't know. Was it like their trailer? Have you seen it together? Were you invited?
There were different levels of EA game changers. There's different events, like Battlefield 5 related. I remember just going to Sweden to capture some footage.
Of Battlefield 5.
Of Battlefield 5, yep. And even then, it was like really, really rough looking. And it was just like, well, you also have your rose-colored glasses on, right? Because
explain this, please. I think that's interesting.
This is like a good tidbit for those people who are Battlefield fans and they have understanding what EA game changers are, right? Like, I think this is there were a lot of good opportunities there, and I'm always happy that I had those opportunities and being able to travel and see games and actually sit down and help devs, you know, like. But it's very limited, you know. It's not easy to coordinate so many people to give feedback, for instance.
How many people were there?
I mean, lots, right? You have YouTubers, Twitch streamers.
Yeah, but what's lots? Are we talking about 20, 50, 100, 200?
Oh, easily over 50. Easily over 50, right? So, but the basic gist is that, like, a new game's a new game. People get excited. Like, a new franchise, or actually, it's even more exciting when you have a continuation of a franchise. So when Battlefield 5 was coming out, everybody was already tired of Battlefield 1. You know, it was been 2 years. And if you guys remember, I loved Battlefield 1, but the DLCs, as they came out, worse and worse and worse, progressively worse. And that was one of those other frustrations with the game itself, is that how are these DLCs getting worse and worse and worse? And I think it's because the dev teams were being moved onto the next game. But again, that's just poor planning in some sort of support for the game, or the incentive, right? Like, money incentivizes development, right? I mean, at the end of the day, this is another expectation, right? Like, talking back to expectations, as gamers, we, especially fans of franchises, we have expectations that, man, I've supported this game and I want the next game to be great, and I want DLCs to come out, and I want them to be free, or I have premium or whatever else. And we as gamers demand, and it's a good thing. There should be some sort of demand from these developers, but at the same time, when there isn't money being funneled from these demands, there's very little incentive to actually deliver. And so, like, you look at EA and it downscaled BF1 DLCs. Like, the first DLC had like 2 operations, 4 maps, a behemoth and all this extra stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
The second one had less. Then by the time the fourth one came out, it was like 2 maps and maybe a new horse or something. Like,
Hey, new
um,
horse. I mean,
yeah, I mean, like you had a little javelin guy, you know, that was kind of new, but like it was bare bones,
when were
you
you
know.
there? Fergan just Fergan asked in between. When were you there?
When was I where?
I think in Sweden. She asked about like when were you there, Echo?
I
Was
don't remember.
February for Battlefield 5. She was there.
No, no, no. This was like close to the game coming out,
So it was
October, November.
Squid. I said, what was a good studio you went to? I managed to go to Square Enix in London. Only place for me.
Oh, I've never really dabbled visiting too many studios. Like, to be honest, like the studios that I've sat and just visited are there were ones in Slovakia. I've met quite a few developers there, and right here, local to New York, like the indie development scene. They have like this really cool place called Gumbo. Pretty awesome. Playcrafting as well is a nice place to meet developers, and you meet people with small projects, small passions, but cool stuff, you know. And just being able to chat to developers and see what they need and how you may be able to help them in some sort of way, or sometimes like I'll do just ways to play their game and give them some feedback on what I think the game is, where's it heading, how it can improve. Those kind of developer visits were kind of cool.
Um, we do you think like there will be a change now with the new EA Creator Network program? Like, is there a change happening, or is it just a name change, like from the EA Game Changing Program to the EA Creator Network?
Oh, I imagine it's going to be something different than what the Game Changer program was. You know, it's a fine line. It's a fine line of marketing and influencer marketing, because at
Well, not
one
every
point,
creator is also an influencer.
right, and the whole influencer, man, I mean, it's such a weird word, because most creators don't measure their influence, and this is a, like, if you're speaking if you're listening to me as a creator, one of the things is me as a marketer, I connect with is, you know, how do you know your influence, right? Because in marketing, the most important thing is ROI. Like, I have X amount of money, I can spend it on you or someone else, but I need to show that this is going to lead to some sort of success for the game. And I need to be able to measure it, because you're not always going to be right. Sometimes you're going to make an activation or an ad campaign and you're going to lose that money, but that's marketing. The part about influencer marketing is a lot of people are afraid to find out their own information of how influential they really are, and what is the price of that. I mean, this is one of those things where a good influencer will know and start to understand and be able to offer some idea or numbers, and a starting out influencer, an uninformed influencer, is avoiding this question.
We will get back to that a little bit later, especially when we talk about how you get into marketing and what you do as one of the partners of Tilt. But before we go there, is there anything you would like to see now with your experience as an EA game changer with the new EA Creator Network, where you think they should improve something?
Well, I mean, I like the fact that they removed the name Game Changer, because I feel like these big AAAs, they make goofy taglines, right? Game Changer. Really? I mean, if Broken Machine is sitting in here, right, I can only point to one time I actually said something to a developer and Broken was sitting next to me. We had a conversation with a developer. I have no idea what his name is. You know what I mean? But it was at that Sweden event, and we were at the hotel lobby, and I noticed everybody was just chilling with a drink in their hand, and they were kind of circling this one person. And so I just sat there and we just started talking about Battlefield, because hey, that's what I love. I could talk about it for days. And ultimately, me and Broken were really big fans of consoles. And I know he plays on everything. I still stay on my PlayStation. I'm excited that PS5 is doing well. You know, I just love the console space. And there was something that was near and dear to my heart is, you know, aim assist. And I've always said that let people customize is the best option. When you force people to do something, that is a limited option. And at that time, we had in Battlefield 1, I believe it was only either you turn on slowdown or you turn it off. And then I was speaking to the guy. I was like, man, why don't you guys just make it a slider? Like, let people decide how much aim assist they want. And Broken was like, yeah, let's do that. Like, and we had a discussion with him, and eventually, that made it into the game. And I want to say like 8 months later, I made it into Battlefield 5 or something. I mean,
but I mean, also these things take time sometimes. Also,
yes,
because of
AAA
various
development.
reasons.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But I guess I was speaking to the right person. Had I said that to Jeff Braddock, and he took down some notes and eventually fed it to some person somewhere down the line, it would never been in the game. It would never be in the game.
So let's pick that up. Do you think that you would wish for a way that if EA Game Changer have a request, that there's a better system of getting the information to the right people?
No, but I mean, it shouldn't be a game changers. I mean, it's a nice way to funnel opinions because we listen to so many people who play.
So we could make another system, like a third-party system.
I mean, why can't you make the change? Why can't Sawtooth 75 make the change? I mean, what makes me more special? I don't understand. I'm just another dude playing Battlefield. But the point is that the idea that people came to me or other creators, the fact that, you know, EA likes taglines and big companies do this goofy tagline crap is like, oh yeah, these guys are EA game changers and they're great, and we give them trophies at the end of the year. Like, what? You know? Like, this is a little bit of out of touch. This is like that Pepsi commercial with whatever her name was, you know? Like, I'm gonna stop all this violence with a Pepsi can, you know? Like, no, you know, it's a little out of touch. And I love the fact that they're learning from it as EA is moving forward, closing down a game changer program, making it a creator program. That's all it is. It's a creator program. It's great. It gives good opportunities for growing creators, big creators to either give input or because you know, you look at the input that you can, it's hard because if you tell a community manager something, by the time he makes a report, by the time like it goes through like his higher up, that higher up's higher up, then it comes down the other line, you know, for the project managers, X, Y, and Z. There's like 7 people who can say no, you know, and that's why things don't get implemented. So number one, that to me is a good change. But I don't know much about this creator program because I'm not in it, as far as I know. I haven't applied, I haven't questioned and asked because I don't make content, you know. So
I think all EA game changers. I mean, you're still an EA game changer. Can just log in right now. But that's another thing. At that time, what was expected from you versus what did you expect from yourself to do? Was that ever clear, like communicated?
For being an EA game changer? No, there was never anyone said, hey, you got to do a live stream. Hey, you got to do a video.
No, I mean, that's not properly how they should do it anyways. I mean, creators should have their freedom, right?
Right.
Yeah,
no, I mean, the
that doesn't make
program
sense.
was a fine line, you know, because, you know, legally and everything else, and EA makes sure they do things legally correctly. It was a good opportunity for creators to see things, to give some input, but it was very limited. The idea of it, changing games, not accurate. I think what it is now is more accurate, and like naming something or the way things look are important, right? Like accuracy matters because that forms opinion. So in general, this is one of those things where it's a step in the right direction, you know. But we once spoke about something called the best community in the world, right? Yeah, I know I get blown up all the time. There's nothing I can do about that. You guys hear that?
Yes.
It's everything's on silent, but my watch is not. Maybe I put my watch in silent. Hold on. Do not disturb for 1 hour. Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. I mean, I can't believe it. You know, I'm using a desk mic. I mean, it's not really a live stream setup.
I want to pick up some of the comments quick in chat, and then I think it's also a great point to talk about the next part, Battlefield Community. So Thoto said he wished they would actually add people that manage communities like Facebook groups, events. Then he said ideas and discussions get collected by social all the time. You just don't see it. Of course, I'm not expecting they are not looking at it or not collecting anything, Sotos, don't get me wrong.
Yep.
Used to do that
They
weekly on
have,
Battlefield
but
forums.
I imagine they have more, not a personal touch to collecting this data. It's more actual like programs, you know, doing this kind of stuff, AI, machine learning, you know. I mean, I work for a indie publisher. This is not EA level, you know, and we have computer programs. So these guys must have AI.
I think in point of community management, not community management, sorry, but I think in point of community work, I feel, why don't they, like, okay, we don't even know yet if there will be platoons, a possibility to make a platoon on the next Battlefield, right? Which
That would be a mistake, huge mistake if they don't have that.
Yeah, I think so too. But I mean, okay, let's say we have it again. Let's hope we have it again. And as we all see, toxicity within communities, it doesn't matter which game it is an issue, right?
Yes.
And in my experience from my own platoons I have built so far is you can't have a platoon without toxicity. I always laughed so much when I got the message from somebody who tried to recruit me, and the second sentence was like, hey, join my platoon and we have no drama going on, I promise, there's no toxicity. And I was always like, like, it's just not happening. You will always have that one way or the other. It's human. You have some person coming in, they're making trouble. But the question is, how do you deal with it? And I felt many times that the communities, the platoons, have a problem with building up leadership who are able to deal with that toxicity. And that's normal because, you know, how should you know? I mean, are you, you know, we are all, these are all people who are doing that in their free time. They have, you know, they don't know how to deal with toxicity in a professional way. So I'm thinking,
you know what is my recommendation to indie developers who face this kind of problem?
Please, that was my question.
Get rid of them.
Of the toxic people. Sure.
Drop them ASAP, no questions asked, nothing.
Well, that's what most people do. But you know what happens then with these people? They just jump to next community and do the bullshit again.
Then, you know, if a community manager or a game developer is not smart enough, or I wouldn't say smart enough, informed enough to know about these things yet, they will eventually. You can't, you know, like as a teacher, you know, even when I made content, I always had my teaching heart in it. And I felt like I want to help people, all this extra stuff. But I learned you can't help people. You can't help everyone. And the best help is inner help, right? You have to seek this help from within you, and you have to be accepting of receiving help. So the people who are toxic, and you know, like for instance, in Tilt Games, we just published a game called Run Prop Run. It's a prop hunt, you know, self-promotion. It's a prop hunt, free to play. And so with a free to play online multiplayer prop hunt game, you're going to have toxic people. They join Discord or, you know, are in a game or whatever. We straight up kick everybody. No questions asked, no whatever. I mean, the mods just kind of need to have like a proof of what this person did. And that's it. Because these people...
You didn't follow the rules, so go.
Yeah, you know, and then they could have said, you know, here's the thing, like you could have had a bad day, you could have X, Y, and Z, like sure, we all have bad days, but we just don't have to act on them. That's the part of growing up and getting older and being more mature is I have a bad day, but I don't take it out on someone else, you know. I reflect, I sit down and have a piece a coffee or something, sit at the park and say, man, this day sucked, you know, like, and then that's it.
Man,
I'm
you
not
guys
gonna
are
go in and
brutal. There
make
are no
your day
second
worse.
chances?
Why? You
I don't
know,
know. I
we
give my
don't
kids
have,
second chances.
well, you know, you do that, sure, but I say, for instance,
I
in the
see where
indie
you're coming
space,
from. I see where you're
in the
coming
indie
from.
space, you can't give second chances, because second chances means that now you have 10 or 15 minutes that you have to figure out and talk to this person. When you have a two-person development team making a video game,
You don't have
all
the
right,
time to act on
we have a
everything.
community manager that's working part-time. You have myself as an influencer manager that's trying to get people in there. I have more important things to do than deal with some persons having a
You're
bad
right.
day, and maybe they're 15 and I have to now explain to them like what is grown-up life. I can't.
You can't.
And the old me would have tried. The new me, who understands this, says sorry. This
Ah,
person will learn eventually and will
I'm too
find their way.
naive. I'm too naive. I always try to see.
It's not, it's your good heart. And I am naive too. You know what I mean? And this is because good people look at this world in a different light. But at the same time, I'm now more careful of how I spend my time. You know?
I
That's
think
the most important thing.
that's an important point. Is that a general thing you learned over the time? Like choosing your friends wisely to also for your mental health and inner peace?
Yeah. Friendships, relationships, game time. You need to make time, because this is the one thing we'll never get back. Money comes, money goes, you know. Friends come, friends go, relationships come and go. You know what I mean? Um, but time never. So you have to always ask yourself, what am I doing today? Why is this worth my time? And if it isn't, start making changes. You're in a bad relationship, get out. You're someone's being a bad friend, and just because you've been friends for 10 years, that doesn't mean a thing. You don't owe this person anything. That person doesn't owe you anything. And that's life. You know, getting older, more mature, understanding. Same thing. You know, look, I love Battlefield franchise. I made a channel based on Battlefield. Battlefield 5 was just not worth my time. Sorry. I was disappointed with them, but they don't owe me anything. And in turn, I don't owe them anything. And that's the thing. And I'm sure that if they make a good Battlefield, this next one's coming out, I boot it up and I play that.
Is
I
it?
enjoy it. I make content. Maybe I do, you know? And this is the biggest realization, is as you get older, you start to find this within yourself, within the people you connect with, is that there's a sense of beauty in the fact that if you live life and you know that EA doesn't owe you anything, like, oh man, I was a EA game changer, now they have to put me in the next program. But if I don't expect it, EA doesn't even expect content from me. And eventually I end up loving the game. The game is great and people do return, and I don't know, I start making content. The idea that would be amazing is that if we reconnect again as a company or as a creator, and things are positive, you know, even within the content creation space, creators come, creators go. Certain people stop streaming, certain people restream again. Like, I was watching on YouTube, one of the oldest YouTubers I know. He did Equals 3. Man, what's his name? Fudge me, I don't remember. Ray William Johnson. And he's doing like TikTok shorts on YouTube, you know, like I don't think he puts them on TikTok. He just kind of comments that way. The dude is 40, because I saw one of his TikToks. But seeing him again after like 10 years making content, still funny, still being him, was awesome.
Being
So
himself.
yeah, I mean, it took him that long to come back to content creation. Equals 3 was so awesome, but he left it. I don't know if you know this YouTuber. He was very
No,
famous. He's one of the first
actually
big
not.
YouTubers ever. But his channel completely shut down, like, just because he just didn't feel like anymore. But
Yeah.
these are like the concepts of
You coming back, Echo?
I don't know. I don't want to state any statement. What's wrong with 40? No, I mean, it's just fire gun.
Right?
This is me diverting attention to the next question.
All right. Um, To close this, guys, we have only 30 minutes left to go. So I would like to talk so much about Battlefield 2042 today, but unfortunately today we don't have the time. But maybe we get Eric another time. We get him in here and then we dig deeper a little bit into it. Okay.
I will just make a comment here. Is wait and see. This is the best thing you can do about Battlefield 2042. There's a lot of stuff that I'm like scratching myself on. You know, I'm like, well, no beta, push back again.
What are you scratching yourself on? Well, what's the stuff what's just scratching you?
There's a lot of repeats of Battlefield 5 vibes. You know, secrecy. Usually EA does not build up secrecy. Usually that means there's something wrong with the game, with the product itself. So I just wait and see now. Like, of course I'm buying it. You know what I mean? I'm going to make my own opinion. I'm not going to read a bunch of things because like Battlefield 4 was a buggy mess. Battlefield 3 was a buggy mess. I don't care about bugs. I play so many indie games with bugs that are phenomenal. Like, I don't care. I'll play them again. And I tell developers, oh man, this what you got going on, this is going to be great. And here's how you can fix it. And you fix the bugs later. That's the point. I love Battlefield 4 to death. I love Bad Company 1 to death. Those are my favorite Battlefields. But they were buggy. There's a lot of crap in there, unbalanced, but they were fun. So if Battlefield 2042 comes out, it's buggy, I'm cool with it. But it needs to be fun.
Do you think people are oversensitive about Battlefield being buggy sometimes?
Yeah, I think so. I would share that with you because, you know, everyone thinks that they're a game developer all of a sudden, you know, like they could do better.
That's what I say.
Yo, then do it, you know, and that's the point. They're not. Because, you know, like it's crazy.
I couldn't even implement my fucking intro today.
I mean, we'll call it a bug. That was a bug, right?
Ah, yes, of course.
Yeah, you'll get that bug next time. We'll see. My only sentiment on that is Battlefield 2042. I wish it the best, right? I'm going to buy it. I'm just that kind of a hardcore fan, and I hope it's fun.
Oh, it will be fun. It has to be fun. I'm waiting. Actually, I am waiting since Battlefield 4 for Battlefield 2042 because I wasn't just. I mean, I'm German, you know. I already said that. So Battlefield 1 and 5 just wasn't for me. I wanted a modern Battlefield again. I have one last question about community because you have communities in general, because you have more experience as you support, you know, indie devs with their projects. Do you see, like, if you compare with the Battlefield community to other gaming communities, what are the do's and don'ts you see? What are the differences, the positive and the negative, if you compare the Battlefield communities to other communities? And to round that up, how could the Battlefield community grow, improve, or learn from other communities?
I would say number one, there's a lot of top-down level community management in big corporations. And what I mean by that is it's not really like Jeff Braddock or whoever's doing the community management now, Benoit, I think. It's not him coming up with an idea, going up and then getting approval and come down. It's more like up. Like there's some sort of a senior manager and he's like, how do we increase community management engagement? Oh, I know. Let's call ourselves the best community in the world. It has to be true if I say it, right? And we give them dog tags, right? Wrong. You know what I mean? The reality is like they have too many taglines. It becomes so formulaic. It becomes so
jump back to that. Why is it wrong? What is wrong for you?
It's inauthentic. A community has to grow within your game. How do you make a community? Guess what? You make a platoon system. You create a space where people can be a community. You don't label it a community. You can't come up to my house and put on my door a sticker that says Democrat. You know what I mean? Like maybe I am, maybe I'm not, but like don't make me part of something. I don't label me. You know, like, so anybody who just buys Battlefield 5 all of a sudden is a best community in the world. Like, oh, wow, wait, I got a dog tag, right? Like, that's top down, goofy, inauthentic, wrong. I build communities for indie games. What we do is we build from ground up. You get people who are excited about your game. You get them motivated. You give them a space to talk about your game. You give them a voice within your game. You change things according to them within your game. And that's how you build a community. Battlefield created its own community in its own place, online, on web forums, on web places, Platoon websites. All they did, the best thing that they did for this franchise is have these spaces available, battle log, other stuff, community places, community tools. When they took all that away, then they slapped best community in the world. Who did they end up fooling? All the old school community people stayed and were passionate about, because they got grabbed into the community before any of this corporate goofy crap. The new people, how many people who started in Battlefield 1 or Battlefield 5 are around like that as communities grow? Have any new communities grown since then, like new big platoons? My hunch, my guesstimate will be very small number compared
Well,
to what it used to be.
you don't even know, right? Do you? I mean, can you even tell right now?
I don't know. I haven't looked. I have honestly my ear to the ground to what happens in this community. Is
Also, like,
very
also the
limited.
funny thing is about what you said about the best community in the world. There are two things. First off, I think it's a way of polarization, and in general, I just don't like the idea of polarization, because that's what you see in every kind of problem. If it's COVID, if it's Trump, if it's whatever it is.
It's like your
There's
mom telling you you're so smart. It's like you're gonna be a doctor or something. Like that's it. The equivalent of that.
also it's about being right and wrong. You're not
True.
for it, so you're against it. And it's not that black or white all the time. And the other thing is, if something goes wrong, and they're also like kind of, I feel like they kind of shoot themselves in their own foot with that, is when Battlefield 5 didn't go the way they hoped for, and then people, getting toxic because of that game or whatever, and then it's suddenly all over the place. Yeah, it's the best community in the world, right?
Battlefield 5 went exactly how they wanted it to go.
Okay.
They
But you know what I'm
designed-
saying, right? It's
Yeah,
like
I
it's
mean, putting out a potato and then hoping like, man, I hope someone buys this watermelon. It's like, man, keep dreaming. Like people see it. They will see it for what it is. They know what product they have. Community-wise, it's different when it comes to indie space. Of course, there's much more scrutiny in the large space. I think the biggest joke was like, when Battlefield 1's player numbers went down to like 20,000 concurrents or something like that, or 30, and it went from 200, and some content creators, informatively made videos, because that is what they do. And then, even people look at these things and they're like, wow, 20,000 players, dead game. Man, if my indie game had 20,000 players concurrently playing it right now, I would be the happiest clown ever, Like, people have a misconception in their minds. What is success? 10,000 people, 5,000 people playing your game concurrently is success. Is success.
I
So
see what you mean. Yeah.
I think opinions are skewed.
Let's jump into marketing.
Sure.
How did you, when you stopped streaming, did you immediately had this plan you want to get into marketing, or how did it happen? How did you get into, I mean, I think you got a few other jobs before you got a partner of Tilt Games.
Right. So, I mean, as I told you in the beginning of the podcast, stopping streaming is a huge decision. The next part of my life was pretty dark, because without content creation, my family, my father passing away was huge. It was the next few months were just the dark ages of EKOLIMITES. It was just sitting in my father's house, kitchen, all lights off, on my laptop, maybe playing some Magic Gathering, sitting doing nothing for a few months. I mean, sometimes you have to do nothing to find out what you really want to do. So I took some time off, and it was a deep sadness in my own state, but it's almost like a computer. You shut down and you restart, because your processes have become corrupt, or like things aren't just working out anymore. You have to shut down. You have to restart. That's sometimes it's good to have that. So then I kind of stayed in Slovakia for a while, and I know that there's a video game development community there because I've met previously with some people there. And eventually, I went to some shows there. I went to Prague to some other shows, and I got in touch with a studio called Studio 727. And they did some amazing work for photogrammetry. Photogrammetry, for those people who don't know, is employed even in new Battlefields. That's how they get this photorealistic graphics to be inside the games. You just take a crap ton of pictures, and then you 3D model it, and you scale it down, and you deliver it to studios. And basically what happens is a lot of these assets, like cars, guns, and things, are done by other companies than the actual companies making the games. So, for instance, this is something I guess I can say because Studio 727 modeled a lot of cars and guns for Modern Warfare. Yep, Call of Duty Modern Warfare.
Okay.
And when you think about it, that's a huge project for a company from Slovakia to be doing. And I connected with them. I did business development for them for a little bit, basically trying to help them.
Quick, just a question out of nothing. Because you said that, I know a little bit out of the film industry now. I know in the film industry that big films from LA and stuff like that, from Hollywood, they do outsourcing, especially when it comes down to animations to East Europe. Is that the same within the gaming industry?
Yes, there's a lot of outsourcing being done. Whether it is voice acting and things like that are outsourced. Asset creation is easily outsourced.
Voice acting.
Porting is easily outsourced. Like if you make a game for Steam and you want your game to be on Nintendo, boom, I already know somebody who can do it. You know what I mean? And for a better price than you probably could because you don't have an SDK or you know, or even the know-how by the time you figure out how to port things over. So there's just like a very common practice in the industry. And so I got my foot in the door that way. But for those people, like, you know, when you're in a bad time and you decide, like, I want to be in the game industry, you have to just get out, open that door. This is like back to mental health. We all go through a bad time. And people need to realize that we as individuals are so much alike like everybody else. The worst you've ever felt in your life, I felt it, you felt it. Maybe what triggered the lowest point in your life was something completely different to you than it is to me, but it's equal in the amount of depth of feeling. And same thing goes for the happiest I've ever been and happiest you've ever been, because this is just max and zero. Whatever your max and whatever my zero is, it's your own thing. And so for people who are like, hey, I want to be in the audio industry. Hey, I want to be in the phone industry. I want to be in the game industry. Open that door, go out and find a place. If there's no one talking about the things that you share, you love in your own vicinity, move. Why are we so afraid of moving? Previous
because we
generations
could lose what we have. I guess.
What do we have? Guess what? One day you die and you're gonna lose what you have too. You know what I mean? You only have one life.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to move. Move for something. Move for love. Move for a career. Move for happiness. Go ahead and do it.
Be a yes man.
Yes woman, yes man, sure. But the point is I wanted to be more involved in the game industry after I stopped content creation. So I went to events, you know, in Košice in Slovakia, in Bratislava in Slovakia, in Prague in Czech Republic. Because I was at that time in Slovakia, I was waiting for, what do you call it? Dedické konanie, but in English.
Quick interruption here. Sorry. That's my voice. D-King just said, like, people cannot always afford to move. And I think this is something we hear a lot. Like, but I can't. You know, I have responsibilities. I don't have the money. I don't have this. I don't have that. Is it like that?
Make it happen, Captain. That's about it. That's all I can say. You have the power of the mind, unlimited. You look around you, the glass you're holding right now, the microphone you're holding, that was power of thought. Someone had a thought first, put it on a piece of paper, figured out how to put it together and put it out there. The whole idea of I can't, you know, tell that to, I don't know, Henry Ford. Tell that to all these people who came as poor as they can be, to whatever place they decided to go to. I don't know, historically, Joan of Arc, a peasant woman, led an entire army. Like, you can't. We live a life of the most luxury any humans ever had. I mean,
It's so interesting. My kids, when they don't want to do something, they always say like can't, and I always say like, in this house we don't say we can't. We say you don't want to, or
right,
I try. And
right,
it's so funny, but with kids already, and it's not like that they can't. They just say it because they don't want to do something.
yeah. I mean, you know, there's a million excuses. I'm not trying to be hard on anyone here. D King, I totally get it. I grew up poor myself. I went through different points of things going on in my life, ups and downs.
Do what you can, Fergus said. That's nice.
That's what my favorite quote is. Do what you can. That's interesting. But you sure can. If it takes you 10 years, you still could. You know what I mean? You don't have to have a goal. There's another part of, like, we live a fast life now, and we want that satisfaction tomorrow. Like, I want to be successful tomorrow. Nah, man. And this could go back to what I'm doing with Tilt Games now. Like, for instance,
Yes.
yes, so I went from business development for someone else, and I realized, interesting, that was a good experience. Then I went into a publishing company called Grindstone, and I did some projects with them, right? They have a cool game called Die by the Blade coming out, and when that is done, it's going to be a really cool fighting game, and I will play it and buy and support the team. But I realized one thing I was passionate about is building something I would own. And with Tilt came the opportunity because my two partners, well, there's 3 of us now, 4 of us now together, but we connected, became friends, talked about industry experience. You know, Tilt started as a company that published games into Asia, so China, Taiwan, Japan, and South Korea.
That was my first question, actually. You're focusing on the market in China, right?
Oh, that's a hard market to focus.
That's what I'm saying. Like, isn't that like the worst and most difficult market to focus on? Like, why? Why did you pick that? And then again, how different is it from the European and the US market?
So our team is split between right here, New York City and Shanghai. And so my partners have deep expertise in publishing games into China. They're both Chinese American, so they can speak both and everything else. But me coming onto the team wasn't to support the China publishing. Me coming onto the team was to create a global publishing and in turn create a full strategy. So I kind of sat there and I said, look, what do I know? Influencing, quote unquote. That's my practice. How would I envision influencer marketing? And I created an influencer marketing strategy within a company. And so the idea then became, it's like, well, if I'm going to create something for someone, I want that to be partly mine. And that's the motivation I would tell people. Like, you know, if you have your job, understand that whatever you do, you're helping someone else get rich. That's just life. You know, there's always a boss that makes more money than you. Then the idea becomes, become the boss. Why not? It's scary as heck, man. Sometimes I sit here and my partners are saying, Eric, you know what you're doing? What, homie, I don't know. Like, it's true. I don't have any marketing training. I just have my expertise as a creator, knowing the industry, knowing what people like, knowing where people are. And that's what marketing is, showing them what they like, where they are, you know, and it's not rocket science, but it is good, you know, to be trained. But I feel like, you know, if you go back to the 50s, it was more about like people got chances. Like Sylvester Stallone pitched Rocky. He was not an actor of any renown. He wrote that junk. I believe he wrote it and he gave it to a studio and said, you guys can have it if I'm the star. You imagine if anyone had the balls to do that today. Forget it. They're gonna laugh you off. They're like, no, we're gonna put Brad Pitt in here, or we're gonna put Matthew McConaughey in here. Like, no, right? Because I feel like the industry is getting more and more risk averse. And without risk, there isn't innovation. You know what I mean?
What do you wish people would know when it comes down to marketing games?
Well, I think again it comes down to expectations. You know, like if I sign a game
Give me an
for the
example,
Tilt label,
maybe. Yeah, give me an example.
you know, one of the things is you're in it for the long haul. My partner likes to say, this isn't a race, it's a marathon. And this is a very cool, I would say, cultural thing. You know, like I'm from Europe, I'm Slovak, but at the same time I grew up as an American, and Americans like to go gas, full metal to the pedal, and we're just gonna build things and break them as they go, like Facebook was built. What did they say? Build now and ask questions later, or something stupid. That was their motto for a long time until they figured out they can't keep this motto up. But that's an American mentality. In Europe, I found people are more democratic. They come collectively and they say, "What do you think?" Well, collectively, we can all decide on this and that, right? But that's
Which is
hard. That's how you
also a
end
pain
up.
in the ass sometimes.
Exactly. That's how you end up with Battlefield 5, right? Like everyone's just, "What do you think?" Well, I like this feature, and then eventually nothing gets done. But Asia,
Quick
Asia is
question.
slow
Quick,
and
sorry.
steady.
Quick question. Back to the marathon example. When you said that, I was immediately thinking like, could it be that game devs come to you and say like, hey, I'm thinking like, I need some expertise from you about building up my strategy, and shall we just go and find some influencers and do some ads? This is for me an example of how like the opposite of a marathon. It's more like I want to invest some money quick and get some results. Is that
Yes.
what you're talking about?
This is kind of what I'm talking about. Even within the space of working with a developer, helping them gain some exposure, and knowing that the point is like, if I work with you to market your game, doesn't mean that tomorrow you will have PewDiePie playing it.
Yeah.
That stuff takes a long time to get in front of his eyes, unless you got $50,000 laying around somewhere.
And you
You
can pay him.
don't. You
Exactly.
don't. And on the flip side, I wish that influencers would understand this more. That indie developers don't have the money to pay you $100 for your activation. They don't. If I did that with an indie budget that they have, if they even have one, I would activate 2 people and it would be over. That's how small indie budgets could go. Couple of $100, 4 or 5 maybe.
Is there like a common pool of problems you get like
Yeah.
from the influencers or game devs?
Yeah, the biggest challenge being in indie publishing is getting as
Dave.
much exposure,
Sorry. Hey Dave, how you doing?
getting as much exposure for as little as possible, right? Like that's the challenge. That's every marketer's challenge. But my challenge really is working with influencers is for them to be more businessy and understand like, look, your ROI, like if you can't even figure out what that is, it's hard, man. Like I can't, it's not even like I'm not trying to give you money, you know? I can't even justify that money when I go in front of my partners or the developers that rely on me with what they give me to deliver. And then I show them like I activated 3 streamers and I for $300 and I got 3 sales. Like they're gonna be like, Eric, you're dumb. I don't ever want to hear and see you ever again. You know? But that's reality. That's happened. But flip side has happened too, where you have an activation and an influencer has produced quite a bit of sales, a nice blip, let's call it. That's money well spent and a good partnership. But that's the point, right? Like if we all
Yeah.
work together, money can be generated. People can live their lives, salaries, and keep entertaining people, right?
I like that. Teking said the question I would think these days would be what makes a good game, not just something that's there on the shelf at the game shop, but a game everyone wants to play.
This is a tough one. If I had to answer this question, um, everybody wants to play games that are fun, first and foremost. Sometimes innovation can lead to a fair bit of fun. If you look like at a game called Phasmophobia, it was an indie hit made by I think 2 or 3 people in England, and it was innovative because it was like playing a horror game with your friends, and it was fun. Everybody flocked to and played it. Among Us, Fall Guys. You know, we're living in a time where indie games can blow up and flourish, which is cool. That's very cool. And a lot of it has to do with influencers. They big influencers picked up those games and just kind of snowballed from there. But they have to organically pick up your game. You know, getting paid to pick up your game. I mean, you look at, I think the most recent success getting big money to play some game is Apex Legends. Apex, I mean, they got all the big guys, right? They had Shroud, they had Ninja, they have all these people. They came out the door swinging with a great campaign.
Also, many people actually, even though the game is out now for a while, because of the frustration with Call of Duty, many of the big streamers actually switched from Call of Duty now again back to Apex.
Apex is the best
It's
VR game I've
interesting.
ever played. I don't like any of the other ones. Apex was the best. We talked about when I stopped streaming is
Yeah.
because I just didn't really have a game I really wanted to play. Battlefield was at a bad time, and it was just it felt like the best thing for me to do is focus on something else. That's what the feeling is. But I enjoyed playing Apex for a while, and that was like a good month. I maxed the character out. I was like level 100, won a bunch of games with friends or by myself. But eventually, it was just like, there's nothing else. Like Apex to me was the best battle royale game I've ever played. I just don't enjoy battle royales.
That actually fits very good with the question we actually didn't answer or got to. I think Squidder is not here anymore. But he said, like, what game would you like to see come back or see as a new game in the future? Echo.
I mean, I'm hoping for a good Battlefield comeback, right? Um,
Oh, we all do. Ollie said, yeah, Ollie, I think I'm right. You're right with that, by the way. We need to see this fun factor in Battlefield
yes,
2042 again, right?
it has to be fun. The focus needs to be fun. Um, Going historic, there was a lot of realism that they went into, and realism isn't that fun. Like a lot of those guns in Battlefield 5, for instance, they're just not fun. Like everybody loves the M1 Grand. Yeah, like ping, 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 and ching, nothing, and then a long reload animation with cool hands and all this extra stuff. That stuff ain't fun.
Oh, that's true. Um, as a marketer now, would you have changed anything when it comes down to the marketing campaign of Battlefield 2042? Or do you
I'll be
think
honest with you, I didn't pay attention even enough to make
to have an
that judgment
opinion?
or call. Um,
It's
don't know
interesting that you
who's
say
doing it
that
yet.
because that's again a point where I feel like everyone has an opinion on that. When
On
you
the marketing, oh, I only saw one comment on Twitter. Forget who it was. They said something about like, oh, the fact that there's little marketing and you guys are still talking about the game means that this marketing is working. I was like, no. You know, they said something about it's an example that this is good marketing because everyone's talking about a game and they don't even have to say anything. Like, no, that's wrong. Good marketing is Battlefield 1. What you see behind me in this picture, Battlefield 1 had good marketing. Great trailer, crazy stuff they did with that campaign. I mean, I remember playing the game with celebrities in LA. That was like the highlight of the crazy things that ever happened in my life. You know, like Jamie Foxx is like right next door, like right in front of me, playing on the other end. You know, so you look at stupid stuff like that, and that was just good marketing. Like all
What
fronts.
is good marketing for you?
Well, I mean, if you're gonna go with the numbers route, the least amount of money in, most of the money out, right? Like that's our whole explanation of effective marketing. But good marketing is authentic, reaches a lot of people, um, hits the right notes. Like I know these are like sayings. There's not really a way I'm painting a good picture, but good marketing is authentic. It's makes a splash, lasts a while. You know what I mean? That's the key. I mean, it's hard to kind of go in and say that because marketing changes from game to game, console to console, platform to platform. It's hard. It's a challenging job. It's fun though.
Would you agree with the sentence, and I'm totally making this up now, authentic marketing has to be holistic marketing as well?
I think it's a blend. You can't shoehorn one thing and expect that to be the solution. There's never a solution of one group. You know, this is why the whole even in the political spectrum, you have like one side versus the other, and they think they're right or wrong. There's no such thing. It's a spectrum of all things. You know, that, and the marketing should be the same way. You have to cast a wide net.
What would you recommend indie devs to find the right way of marketing, also to find the right influencers or creators to work with, and how could they get the best out of their creators?
You know, this is a good question, and I have a lot that I've thought about in this space and spoke to not influencers, indie developers. So to paint you a picture of what exactly does Tilt do is not only do we publish games, which in turn we support the developers. The point of having a publisher is this: you as a developer can now focus on making the game, because solo devs or 2-team devs or 3 people dev teams, you're making the game, then you have to go talk to the community, you have to create a Discord where they're always going to be engaged, you have to go on socials, you have to go spread the word on platforms, events, if you're doing Steam events, if you're doing live events like we did one in New York City called Play NYC. Like, you can't do everything. Life isn't that way, like, you know. As a publisher, we connect with small team. We let them focus on making a game. You worry about making a game. We do the marketing. We talk to influencers. We talk to PR agencies. We talk to actual journalists for IG and Kotaku, whatever. We explain the game to them. We do things. We create those campaigns, right? That's one. Number 2, what I do is I do influencer marketing campaigns for dev teams who want to remain unpublished, for instance. They're like, no, we got this. We just want to reach out to X amount of influencers. And so, like, within Tilt, I helped create a database of like 30,000 plus content creators. So we reach out to them. We tell them, hey, here's the game. This is what it's about. Like, let me get you set up to play it, try it, or if there's money to play it and try it that way, right? That's what I do. Now, when it comes to giving advice to people who don't want to work with me, or they're just an indie developer, maybe someone watching, there are, on the surface, 3 things that are important when you look at a content creator. Number 1, you have to identify their loyalty, their fans' loyalty, because some people just want to watch you for the fact that you play Battlefield. And if I boot up and I play Mario, and they're just going to be not there, you know, and that makes sense because it's called TV, twitch.tv, right? Like, if your favorite channel is ESPN, you're going to love sports on it. You're going to see tennis, you might watch it. But if you're a football guy, you're just always going to zone in on football. But if they're showing basketball, you're just going to turn it off, right? That's TV. This is how we're programmed. So me as an FPS guy, maybe people would watch me play Call of Duty or other things that shoot. But as soon as it was like something Super Mario Brothers, they're like, no, unless it's something else. So you got to look at loyalty. As a indie dev, you know, with a small budget, that's the first thing I would look at, right? You can see most content creators, their stats on lots of pages online, going through data and whatnot. You can see like, hey, if I play Battlefield, I have this many people watching me. If I play, you know, origami, boom, less. So loyalty goes down. Second thing is pay attention to the email conversation, because when you reach out to someone and they're quickly asking you about money, That's a 50-50 in my opinion. The 50-50 is they just want to get paid, move on, they don't care about your game.
Yeah.
Or the other 50-50 is
Then it's also not authentic. It's also a big factor for authenticity, right?
yes, but here's the thing, like
How do they
it
sell it?
doesn't
I mean,
well here's the thing, like the other 50 is maybe they're just very good business savvy. And this is what you want to identify in emails.
which could be a good thing. Okay.
That's a very good thing because a business savvy content creator knows that he needs to perform to be able to deliver a nice blip on your radar for the activation, because he will work with you again. That person understands that he's not just there like, cool, someone is going to pay me money. They expect something from me.
Yeah, that's a
So
good
that's
point.
very important. And it's completely correct to have that expectations. You get paid to play a game. You should try to deliver some sort of sales. Motivate people to click that link and go support an indie dev. There's so many ways you can say it that don't make you look like a shill or, all these other things that people like to label content creator as,
And the third point?
The third point is ask for a creator deck. And what do I mean by that is when someone demands a price, right? Like I never knock a content creator for naming a price. All I can tell them is, look, at this time I cannot activate because our funds don't allow it. So if I come up to you, you could tell me you have legit only 50 followers, right? And you tell me I want $200. Like, interesting proposition. Now, if my game is a $60 game and I stand to gain $30 per sale, and you can show me data that you've done past activations, that all 50 of your followers purchased the game, that's easy math for me to figure out if $200 is worth.
Your time, of course. But
Yeah.
but they can't.
Yep. Right? 30 times 50, that's good money. Okay, I'll give you your 200 for that.
Good that you're a math teacher. Sorry.
I mean, that's the point. It's about basically looking at like the creator deck is something very few creators have. Usually people who are more pricey, I will ask them that and I will say, hey, by the way, I will say, by the way, like based on this, based on what? Like, if you have something to share with me that can back up your need, then maybe we can activate. If not, then I'm sorry, it's out of our price range. But I'll never say like, oh man, you're crazy, I found an influencer who had 50,000 followers and is charging less. Because I've also had the opposite happen. I had influencers with 50,000 followers charging way less, and I saw no blip, no sales, and I paid him less money than someone who had 10,000 followers, charged a little bit more, and generated more sales.
Are you then looking at the data to find out why they sell more or less? Like, can you figure it out in the end, or do you basically have the same strategy?
The only data points, I see what you mean. The only data points really in that discussion are loyalty. You can check for the loyalty. Like that is a calculable thing based on data. I don't want to bore people here, right? Like this entertains me.
That's what matters.
This entertains me. But maybe some people here, you might not find this conversation entertaining.
That's their problem.
Okay. This entertains me, and this is what I love to do. Yeah, you can quantify that, but you can't quantify professionalism.
Okay.
Professionalism is something that is a huge impact, has huge impact on success of campaigns when speaking with influencers. Yep.
Sortus, by the way, had a question in between, I think. Ollie, I'm sorry, I'm not getting on your trailer thing because it will open a whole Whole nother thing here, an whole nother box, Ollie.
Validation. He had a question about my name, but I already addressed it in the beginning of the
No, he
podcast.
said like, Thoto said like, I wonder how you do marketing for different type of consumers, like highly invested fans versus casual consumers. How do you target fans and non-fans at the same time effectively? And I think it's very interesting that he says that, because that's what we saw with the Battlefield 2042, which you actually didn't follow, you said, but they actually
I
did
did
it
see the
there.
trailer. For instance, the
I'm not
trailer,
talking about the trailer.
it's marketing, but the trailer did some fan service. You know, you had the Rendazook, you know, you had things that were in Battlefield that people miss, you know, like jumping out of a jet and shooting the other jet behind you.
I'm not talking about this. I think okay. What I'm talking about is what they did. I think what they did is if you there were so many people were watching the trailer, and you
Yes,
if you just go on YouTube and Google reaction trailer, and then you see so many people showing their reactions, even though they are not hardcore Battlefield fans. You see like casual consumers, you see highly invested fans, but you saw
yes,
also people who never played the game before. And I think that only happened also because they were shooting out tons of DMs to people to make them aware to watch this trailer at that certain point and
they
recording their
shot out
reaction.
DMs.
Yes, they did
On what platform?
on all platforms, on Facebook, on Twitter. You can see it in an article. J. Posted it on how they did the marketing campaign for Battlefield 2042, and they switched their marketing campaign before they released the trailer. I think like 2 weeks before, and they shifted everything. And then they made this plan, this crazy plan of sending out DMs with these codes and these snippets of the trailer. And first they send it out, I think, only to EA game changes in certain
Yeah,
amount, and then in the second phase they send it
I
out
saw
to
that.
a lot of more people. And that's what I was talking about, like holistic marketing campaigns. And I think it shifted, and
You
it
know,
is shifting right now to this. And I
this
thought that was very interesting.
I will tell you my point on this,
Yes,
right?
please. That's what I was
And
asking.
this is the exact same thing about adding the brake light to a car. Let me explain. At first, there used to be two lights, and then they did research and they found that people forget to see, it's not clear. They added a third light in the middle. I don't know if you have that in Germany, but in America they did. So now when a car brakes, you have the two lights on the sides and one in the middle. When what they saw is immediately, um, people became more aware and started stopping, and less collisions occurred. But in 2 years later, they went back to the same thing, back to the same amount of collisions. But they were like, holy crap, we had a third light. So they added a fourth light and the same effect. You know what I'm saying? The point is humans get used to it. What was marketing? Marketing used to be get a mail, right? But nowadays I go through my junk mail, I throw that junk out, I don't even open it. Then came emails. Now we have emails, right? Like how many emails do you get? Maybe you get like 100, 200 a day. Do you really check all of them? Nope.
No, I'm not
Your
even winning
spam folder,
anything.
who goes into the spam folder ever? You know what I mean? If it doesn't hit your inbox, goodbye. And what is the next light, quote unquote, is DMs. How many times you get a crappy DM on Discord?
Not
Interesting. I get DM'd all the time by some weird bots or people trying to give me Bitcoin or something. Maybe, I don't know. I have a lot of connections and friends and servers I'm in, but bots. So they figured out what's the most effective way to reach somebody. It's to DM them. Next thing you do is you're going to be getting text messages. After that, what is the more, like, you know what I mean? It's becoming from where we used to get information. It's getting more and more crowded. Once things get crowded, humans pay attention less. So I am not surprised. This is actually a good marketing point. This is exactly what I would do. If I had the technology and power to do, I would do DM marketing. Now, you do risk a couple of things there. Like if you do mailing, email marketing is built off of mailing lists. So people can unsubscribe, from your mailing list. So the point is like if you email someone too many times, they'll ignore you. You know what I mean? You might end up
Also,
in a
it's a
spam.
difference if it's a difference if you DM somebody as being a part of a team of an AAA studio or being part of a team of a two-man indie dev studio, right?
Yeah, yeah, of course. I get ignored a lot more than EA would, right? But what I would wonder is how they gathered everybody's DMs, and I would imagine they deployed that on Facebook because people already probably follow Battlefield
Also,
or
how many
like.
people do you need to pull that off?
Not
Like I
many.
was I was like,
To pull off a DM campaign, I need give me one computer programmer who knows what he's doing.
okay, I'm
I can do
back
that
to
too.
being naive again.
Oh no,
I
it's
don't know. I was
very
just
easy to pull
thinking.
this stuff off. It's just a little coordination and a good computer programmer. Like, for instance, in Run Prop Run, the way we generated hype for the game before it came out was we made the demo exclusive to people on Discord. So that's how we generated a community on Discord. You want to play the game? Boom, come to our Discord. And eventually, some people stuck around who want to have a conversation about it and enjoy it, and so on and so forth. That
Right.
is our game, Run Prop Run, right? Obviously, you can then DM all those people because you share a Discord with them, right? That's the point. So maybe what they've done is they have obviously they already have a big Discord for Battlefield, and their Facebook page is probably big enough that they can actually DM from there. It's really smart. That's a smart move.
I sent you. I will DM you the article later. I think you will find it very interesting. I really
Right.
love to follow JDot's newsletter. To be honest, I think it's totally worth it. You can learn so much. Also, guys, if you wanna see more about it, check out our Discord. Maybe Cylon put our Discord link in here. Then I will put the newsletter, the link of it, also in the Discord again, so you guys can pick it up. Um, yeah. Damn, we went through much
Oh, it was
today.
just on Twitter, Sawtooth said, and it was sent just to specific influencers. So then it's kind of like leveraging the whole Game Changers program and moving that hype
They
that
sent
way.
it, but
They did
there's
that with Battlefield 5, didn't they? Didn't they do Morse code? And some people had Morse code tweets,
yeah.
and people would decode them, and so on and so forth. So they used Game Changers to, I'm not saying utilized Game Changers to spread
I don't
small
know.
information about games.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, I don't know. Do you maybe Stotis you don't, but I don't know. I was actually active on Twitter after the launch of Battlefield 5, so I don't know actually
Yeah, they
nothing
did that. They
about.
did that. So this is similar, but they did it with DMs. I mean, at that point, my guess is these influencers got instruction of how they can send that information out. So you probably got a DM and they got an email saying, "Hey, look, you sent you a DM, retweet it or
Yeah.
something, or snapshot it and show it." Um, Look, there's a level of fabrication, you know, that's just industry standard. Um, Not a bad thing, but at the same time, it is.
Thank you, Simon.
You look at things and how authentic can they be, you know. Not a knock against influencers that are part of programs like this. I think it's completely normal, and they're probably excited to do it. If someone
Yeah.
put yourself in that position, if EA messaged you with a crazy cryptid message, you'd also screenshot it and send it out. So
True.
I'm not being a devil's advocate here and saying like maybe they got instructions, but like basically they know to push the info out to others. I mean, I don't know, not a bad idea, but I don't know.
I don't know. I liked it the way they did it so far. And when people now are complaining about them doing not a good marketing campaign, I think it's not about marketing anymore. Right now, it's just about communication. And
Oof.
I don't know why they don't do more communication right now, even though everyone is like, craving for it basically. I don't
I
know.
don't know. This is why I say, wait and watch.
Wait and watch.
because
You can't do anything about it, right? And that's how
yep,
I feel. Like it's, to be honest, it's not really bothering me right now because in the end, you gotta wait for the game anyways, and then you see how it will be.
yep.
Like it wouldn't change anything for me if I would see now gameplay for me personally. It would not change anything, to be honest, because in the end, I have to play the game to see if it fits for me, if it is for me.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, maybe I don't see something right now what other people see. I don't know. I mean, definitely gives me as a host of this podcast, it would give me more opportunities and more to speak about. But then again, I don't have the chance to play the game right now. So,
I mean,
um,
if I could have some closing thoughts
yes,
on all the
please.
discussions we had today. I mean, first of all, thank you for inviting me here to talk. Um, it's specific, because we both share a love for a game. We also share love for gaming in general, and I really think your cause in what you do, working with people, trying to help them with being more aware of themselves. Um, for instance, I was never aware that gaming was a way for me to cope with bad things in my life. That's why I spent so much time gaming. Um, it's really, it's really important to share with others that I know that your content, with the idea behind Gamerswecare, is to help support one another, right? Through tough times, right? And you've shared with me some of the tough times you've heard other people, and what motivate you to create this content, and so on and so forth. So if I had some closing thoughts for people here, it really is that the tough times are the ones that make you who you are. They bring out who you're supposed to be. Inside, you've always been who you are. You're just trying to figure it out because we're born in this world and we don't know even how to speak. So you already had a soul. You already had a personality. You're just trying to now find it. And it's important to take your time, right? Try a lot of things. Keep chasing your dream. Build something that you're going to be proud of. Um, Work to not waste your time. Like, actively think about what you're investing time into. If you see someone being toxic or something, for instance, even ask yourself, is it worth your time to even try to change this person or not? Sometimes no. Some people just need to go out there, say their piece and word, and have it just flow out in the internet, so they can like take 3 weeks and meditate or figure it out, and then eventually they'll be like, man, I am a very sorry that I went into this streamer and I cursed him out in his chat or something. Who knows? You know what I mean? But sometimes it doesn't even like come back that way. Like, that person's gonna have this realization personally and never come back to me. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I've been not a controversial person in the community or whatever. Like, I don't think so. But I've had like people say mean things about me, and I was like, dang, man, what did I do? But this person has their own life. I don't need an apology. Maybe they never did come to that conclusion of like, hey, but I wanted to kind of end on this note because I know we're
Yeah, I know.
running time
I
wise,
know
and,
you
and
gotta go. You already gave me
yeah,
half an hour more than you wanted
yeah,
to. So,
that's fine. That's fine.
damn, really. But you see how hard it is for me, you know? It's like
It's a
every
good
time,
conversation.
it's
It's good
like, how could
conversation.
I end this? How could I end this, you
And
know?
I also did not want to end it, because if I did, I would have ended right there abruptly. But I wanted to end with this.
Guys, but let me give no, thank you, man. Really, let me give you some final words here as well. Really, thank you so much, Eric, for being here tonight. It was such a pleasure talking to you. Really, I feel like this was a good vibe tonight, and we had a really good talk. And I feel we could do this much longer, and maybe
For
maybe
sure.
maybe we will do it another time about something else. Also, guys in
Right.
the chat, thank you so much. We had some new guys in here. D King, and thank you so much for being here and for being that active. Thank you guys for yeah. Hey Joe, thank you guys for joining us tonight, for showing the love
What's up, Joe?
and the respect and the good talks and the ideas thought to. Thank you for being here again. Broken Machine, as always, welcome. Also, thank you to my mods here, Bloody and Cylon. Thank you for staying here all the time and giving us the links. Also, put Echo's link here in one time again.
I mean, Twitter is where I am now.
Yeah, that's the Twitter link. We put the Twitter. That's why.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we put the Twitter link in here because I thought that's the best way to connect with you. So if you guys have any questions in point of marketing or streaming, whatever, I'm pretty sure you can hit him up.
Or you want to work in the game industry. I love trying to help people get into the game industry. I think the industry can use it. There's so much opportunities.
All right. So here you go, guys. Listen to him. Just send him a DM. He's open for everything. Almost everything. And yeah, we will call it a night tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed. We will be back, by the way, at October the 10th, I believe. It's like in 2 weeks. SMK Gaming will be there and 2 other guests. I'm not sure yet. We will see. But we will have 2 more. So we will probably talk about, I hope we will talk about the beta. I hope the beta will be in that week. Then we can talk about and see some gameplay and see how that worked out. So guys, thank you so much. We will wait now to... Who will